Welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. I'm Ginger Chang. Today we continue the second part of our feature to commemorate the second anniversary of Japan's 311 disasters. We will continue to address if nuclear energy is a viable alternative to fossil fuels, foreign oil, and global warming, or is it a form of energy that creates as many environmental problems as it aims to solve? I'm very honored to have Dr. Benjamin Baderson with me again, who is the Emeritus Editor-in-Chief of the American Physical Society and an Emeritus Professor of Physics at New York University, back with me today. Welcome again, Dr. Baderson.
Yes, thank you.
Nuclear physics, you said, is more so studying the center of the atom, right?
Yes, nuclear studies the center of the atom, and the atomic studies the environment surrounding the center, which consists of the electrons orbiting at very large distances away from the nucleus.
Well, 20% of our energy in the U.S. comes from nuclear energy. However, the incident at Fukushima sparked even more concern about the safety and maintenance of our own nuclear reactors. One of them is at the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Power Station, or SONGS. So we're going to take our first break and we're going to go visit the station there. We now go to Southern California.
The latest we're getting from the Kyoto news agency is they say the hourly radiation at the plant matches.
My name is Beverly Finley Kaneko. I lived in Japan until March 16, 2011, and I evacuated from the greater Tokyo metropolitan area with my son. My husband still lives there, so I'm much like Kathy, who was on the panel today.
We live with a Geiger counter for a year, measuring radiation contamination in our food as well as in our environment. Of cesium levels to be 5 times higher than March 11, 2011. And we're not talking about a 50-mile evacuation scenario. I live 380 miles southwest of the reactors.
My husband has just recently made an investigatory trip up to Fukushima, and he's seen what it's like there. There's really nobody on the streets. You don't see children around. The old people, they're all pushed off into, it's basically barracks.
The worried American mother evacuated with her family from Japan and relocated in Southern California. But what awaited them there was another nightmare.
Sirens blare at San Onofre tonight.
Just 2 days after a leak was reported, there are new problems.
The plant's Unit 2 reactor, where damage has been discovered on dozens of...
The concerns were high enough that the plant is now closed.
Having been through a big nuclear disaster in Japan, these mothers have participated in many nuclear power public hearings in Southern California to protest the San Onofre Nuclear Power Generating Station, SONGS for short. SONGS supplies 20% of the energy in Southern California. There are 65 nuclear plants in the United States, and SONGS is considered one of the worst.
San Onofre right now is ranked the worst nuclear power plant in the nation by the INPO, I-N-P-O. It's the organization of reactor operator companies.
In January of 2012, a radiation leak was reported. Inspectors examined the SONGS steam generator and discovered that these newly installed steam tubes were very degraded from faulty design.
You need to have a way to remove the heat from the reactor. The tubes are a very important part of the heat removal system for the reactor. And the problem with having faulty steam generator tubes, you're taking away one of the primary barriers to a meltdown.
Ace is a scientist, a local activist, and has been a nuclear researcher for over 40 years. He lives only 20 minutes away from SONGS.
And I've been fighting nuclear power for about 40 years since I first realized it was a problem as a teenager. I saw interviews of a variety of scientists and experts and became convinced that they were right, and that this was a terrible danger to humanity. I have basically been trying to disprove the theory that it's dangerous all my life and have made absolutely no progress.
I moved here 20 years ago and Because I loved California. I still love California. It's paradise for me.
Ace had bladder cancer at a very young age. So bladder cancer is usually a disease that happens to men in their 70s or later. So that was terrifying.
I mountain bike and I swim, and I would like my dirt to be non-radioactive. I don't want poisons spewing all over my land.
Songs has been closed for over a year and there has been no power outage yet. However, businesses still worry about potential blackouts in the future. Because of these concerns, Southern California Edison still plans to reopen one of the reactors without having solved the problem.
The conclusions that our experts have reached indicate that it is safe to restart Unit 2 for a reduced operating period.
We do not have the replacement power that nuclear power provides.
Earthquake just hit off the coast. We're hearing that it was a 6.4.
At least 30 quakes striking since Tuesday night.
California has the 4 reactors in the country that are on earthquake faults in tsunami zones. I mean, you've seen San Onofre, the thing, you know, it could just fall into the ocean, for God's sakes.
If a 49-foot high tsunami, like the one that hit Fukushima, Japan, were to hit Songs, it would cause horrendous damage. Songs only sits 30 feet above sea level. It also houses 4,000 tons of nuclear waste and spent fuel. The spent fuel is not weapons grade, but the material is still so lethal that if an animal inhaled only 1 milligram of it, it would probably die.
This is one of the huge industrial facilities between Los Angeles and San Diego, but this one can destroy everybody. This one can kill the entire environment. And it looks so benign, but it could explode just like Fukushima did. Radiation is an insidious destroyer of the human DNA. A single cell can produce tens of thousands of different proteins, and it knows how to do this based on DNA. So if your DNA is destroyed, you either get deformities if it's during the growth part of life, or you can get cancer, or it can just destroy the functionality of a cell. And so we tried to decide what are the necessary topics that need to be covered, and what the radiation in the environment is one topic. And again, this was right after I had bladder cancer. So I felt that whatever knowledge I had gained in my life, I better get it out and know how much time I'd have.
ACE also makes speeches at various events for free in order to help bring awareness to local communities and to help unveil the truth of nuclear power using scientific methods.
Okay, so I'll take 5 more minutes of questions.
Well, I'm going to do whatever I can, speaking to representatives, and as well as if I have to show up and, whatever protesting or letters I got to write, stuff like that, phone calls I have to make to people.
Despite the presumably unsafe conditions at Songs, the latest public opinion polls from Visconti Research shows that the public attitude Americans had on nuclear energy was divided, but recently has become more favorable over time. Dr. Baderson, I remembered earlier on in the first part, you had mentioned some of the flaws would be the location and human errors that would cause incidents at a nuclear power plant. So then, let's talk about Songs, in particular, the fear of radiation leaks.
Yes.
How possible is that?
Well, it seems to me that is a problem that can and is being monitored. You can measure the radiation in the vicinity of the plant, and I am assuming that expert engineers can readily and biologists who are interested in the subject can readily determine whether the radiation is dangerous or not. There is a certain amount of radiation that does exist, but there are many other natural sources of radiation, and they claim that the natural sources are greater than the sources due to the radiation from the reactor. And so at the moment, I would say that the normal radiation dangers are relatively low.
Well, one of the key important things about this program is we want to raise more public awareness, especially on nuclear energy, instead of people fearing something that they don't really know much about. So as a historian also and a professor, what have you done to raise more public awareness on this issue?
Well, during my career as a professor at NYU, I actually created a course called Physics and Society. Mm-hmm. And in this course, maybe a third of it was devoted to the whole idea of nuclear energy. I went through all possibilities. The students were given an enormous amount of data and facts about sources of energy, including nuclear, and we discussed ideas of safety and also nuclear proliferation, which is a problem we haven't discussed here.
Well, speaking of public awareness, we're going to break to the next segment and go meet the community around San Onofre. Thus, let's go hear from the local community and their thoughts on nuclear energy.
For the past 40 years, ACE has been going to public hearings to support the anti-nuclear movement. Before, less than 5 people would attend these hearings. Now, as many as 100 or more attend.
Lately, maybe over the past few years, I've done more stories than I've ever done in my career on the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station. The mom and dads in this community, the students, grandparents, that we are all paying much closer attention to the events that go on.
And I hope you won't waste more money on this plan that's making radioactive waste that no one can get rid of. Please put your money into something that doesn't put my future into financial jeopardy. Thank you.
It is the one that is most unsafe in the country.
At this public hearing, the oldest speaker was 84 years old and the youngest was 13. That is a large difference in ages, but they each had the same appeal.
I'm Lynn Harris Hicks, and I'm a long-time resident of San Clemente. We moved here in about 1958. We're just about 2 miles plus from San Onofre. Oh, this is me over here. That's my award. The National Press Women Award for the best news article for a newspaper of the size ours was. I actually wrote an editorial, and I wrote it on how great it would be for us to have this wonderful plant put in. I said, I just quoted from the material that they sent me, you know, which usually happens, I guess. I said it would be on built on a bed of pebbles so that we wouldn't have to worry about an earthquake or anything like that. Oh boy. And I felt so guilty about that when I found out about it that I just pitched right in, and I've been just going since because it's such a terrible thing.
Ever since, Lynn has been fighting against songs for half of a century.
This is Casey. This was my first great-grandson, Gus. I'm not worried about it right now, for me, because I'm almost 85 years old. Now, we've learned in the last few years there are vast differences in the effect of the radiation on individuals. For children, it's hundreds to thousands times more. She had twin boys. They wanted a girl, but they got twin boys. Yeah, these would all be in the 50-mile.
The U.S. government recommended a 50-mile evacuation zone to U.S. citizens living around the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. We asked Lynn if she has ever felt tired or wanted to quit doing this.
Well, if I had my choice, I would really rather be able to sit in my comfortable chair here and read a good book, or just sit and look out at the ocean from here at the view of the sunset or whatever. But I know that I can't.
The anti-nuclear power movement never ends. More and more young children, the same age as Lynn's grandchildren, have also joined in this difficult battle.
Good morning, how are you?
Hi, I'd like to speak for the San Onofre meeting, please.
First name?
Zora, Z-O-R-A.
And last name.
It's a really empowering thing to, speak your mind in public. No noobs, but love and peace. And when I really don't like something, I feel like I really have to do my best to speak up against it. Okay, so I wrote this poem when I was in 4th grade, so age 9, and it's called Save the Earth. So please save the world as it is a big mess. Starvation, pollution, and much, much more. Like droughts and wars and global warming. Oh, please.
So something like songs really affects her. So it makes her feel like, it's a threat to what she holds dear.
Okay, so Zora, check this out. See, they put their acorns, they drill the holes for the acorns or tap them out with their beaks. A couple years ago, I started to really feel concerned as a parent about all these problems in the world that seem to be so massive in scope. What also concerned me was feeling passive about it, feeling like I'm complaining about it but not doing something about it. And also that I was modeling that for my kids. The following summer of 2011, there was a call to Occupy Wall Street.
We are in Soho and we're going to the occupation of Wall Street.
I just thought it would be a really interesting experience for Zora and myself, for us to both to go on that trip and see what that's about and see if we could actually be a part of a larger movement of change.
Hi everybody, we are here at Occupy Wall Street. This is day 18.
When Mark came back to his little mountain town, he brought that spirit back with him and began a weekly meeting for community members called This Is This, to discuss various public issues such as energy from different perspectives. Children are also free to join. They are never forced to take part, but if they're interested, they can.
See if anybody else has ideas.
Kids need to feel empowered. There's so many bad things going on. And it's not like when I was growing up, when I never thought about climate change or nuclear power or anything.
Hurrah!
Well, my family and I, when we're washing the dishes, when we rinse our dishes, we save the water in a basin and we water the plants.
I think it's important to teach kids about the issues and then also give them some tools so that they feel like it's not just about the bad, scary world.
In October of 2012, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission held a public hearing to discuss the reopening of Song's Reactor Unit 2. Over 1,000 people attended, with the audience being composed of nuclear experts, local community members, and labor union members.
Is there an issue at all in regards to the craftsmanship, the labor, the working conditions that my people work under? Because as I understand it, it is one of the most safe places ever to work at.
Now we're going to go back on to all of you for any questions on any subjects. Okay.
Let the kids go.
We have a couple questions over here. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amara Wilson, and I came with my friends, and we were all wondering what you plan to do with all this toxic waste, and if you don't have a plan, why keep making more?
Come on, how are you going to solve that
I think that was for you.
I think I have the same question. It's a real issue. It's a real challenge. It's a real problem. I don't have an answer for it. The federal government has not developed it.
Okay.
Okay,
said the question because she kind of made it and then we kind of edited it. I was so happy.
It's the adrenaline that's still going. Yeah, so we're really excited about this and we hope it made a difference.
A question raised by 3 young girls was the only question that the Regulatory Commission and the utility company were unable to answer that night.
I mean, I guess the question I have sometimes is whether or not, you know, it's not too heavy a subject for you, or if I should kind of just protect you from thinking about these things. But yeah, you always seem so bouncy and light and sparkly that...
Let's face it, it's too late now.
If we just stand our ground, we can make a difference.
We cannot sit back and just let it happen to our children and our grandchildren.
As the old people die off, the young people should know the truth and make changes.
I thought if I even just helped a little bit that I could go really far. It's our generation and it's our future, so we really care about it.
One of the voices we just heard from were the youth, and these days the younger generations are very outspoken. Dr. Bateson, have any of your students given you a hard time about being a part of the Manhattan Project?
I have to say that they have not. I always, during my courses, when I discuss the use of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, I do offer my opinion as to whether President Truman made the right decision in using those weapons. I did tell them that we were prepared to invade Japan in August of 1945. We were prepared to invade Japan with an enormous invasion fleet, and we were prepared for a large number of American losses, of loss of American lives. The Japanese would have lost even more lives had the invasion taken place. I tell my students, and I look at them, that many of them would not be sitting in that classroom because their fathers or grandfathers would have been killed in the invasion. Right. And that, I have never found that any student has criticized the use of the bombs after my course was finished. At least not to me. Of course. Well, I don't know what they do outside.
Because you're the professor, right?
Yeah, I'm the professor. Yeah.
Well, thank you once again.
It's been a pleasure.
And for those of you at home, I hope you enjoyed our second feature today, and hopefully it's given you more insight on nuclear energy. I'm Ginger Chang, and I'll see you next week.